There's a earth spirit movement that has taken place, and it's waking up the consciousness of all human beings. Through this earth spirit movement, there has to be a formula, there has to be a mechanism, there has to be a body. And in that body, in that formulation, that structure, the spiritual essence comes from the woman. Without women, we won't exist. Without our mother nature, nothing will live, nothing will grow.
Welcome, dear friends, new and old. This summer marks 6 years since I recorded the first episode of this podcast at the very first Aniwa gathering with Charles Eisenstein. There is another beautiful Aniwa gathering, which brings together the world's most respected Indigenous leaders and elders, coming up this June in Big Bear, California. We have been on such a deep, strong, and transformative journey since then. All that we are is made by a beautiful team of women who deeply believe in what is possible for our world. As you may know, I have been living through some challenging circumstances, and I am so grateful for the team here, for the way that they show up for the podcast and for me, and for the stability that they bring to the podcast and therefore allows us to bring this wisdom and inspiration and understanding of new ways of living to you. Anna-Greta Folderbach crafts the words that go with each episode, as well as creates our beautiful visual experience that you receive in our newsletters and in Instagram, which she does from Johannesburg. Mary Chan edits the sound from British Columbia, taking time to care and make sure that the listening experience is as smooth as possible for you to be able to listen deeply to what is shared here. If you love this podcast and you find it beneficial, you can support us by joining our membership. I've just uploaded 3 powerful tree whispers into the members area, and we are gathering this Sunday for our next soul space. These sessions are deeply powerful and offer a space where we can activate what we explore in the podcast as a community, and through this create deep ripples of change and possibility in the world. In Soul Space, we unearth a theme that is feeling alive for everyone, and we spend some time sharing about that theme. And then we go into some energy attunements where we collectively integrate some patterns and plant new seeds. And these new seeds then grow and bloom in each of us and therefore in this world. Membership is offered on a sliding scale, so you choose the level that you can do, and we all uplift each other. You can find the link on allthatweare.org/support. And just know that our membership really is the heart of this experience. We make this podcast so that our consciousness can shift, so that we can understand something different about the world that we live in, so that we can be inspired, so that we can do more, so that we can see with a different perspective, act with a different perspective. And in order for us to thrive, we need the membership to thrive. And so if you have been thinking about joining or meaning to get around to it, please do head over and just press the button and become part of this community. The other amazing thing is that when you join as a member, you go from being an anonymous listener to somebody that we know that's in our lives. We know your name, we see your face, we get to connect deeper. And for me, that's such a deep joy. One of the things I love to do is bring people onto their first ever podcast as guests to share their wisdom with a wider global community. I believe it's so important that you hear from both people you've heard of and people that you haven't. So episodes such as the recent one with Tunjung and this one are very special. We're sharing people that are holding real wisdom. My guest today is SleepyEye, an indigenous wisdom keeper. He shares healings and teachings of the Americas and the yogic tradition in ceremonies, ancient songs, and ways to connect to the elements. He has dedicated his life to the pursuit of finding healing ways of being within all nations of the Americas, ways of life that would not only benefit his Sisseton-Wapheton Dakota and Tonawanda Seneca people, but ways that can benefit all of life. Learning to live with sacred ancient teachings that were passed down since the beginning of time in a modern day world has been very challenging, but SleepyEye has been able to merge teachings of his elders with worldwide teachings as well. And now he is opening up his altar outside of his people in order to share his wisdom wider so that we may all benefit. In this episode, called Smoke Signals of Change, we explore the themes of Earth Spirit Movement, the Divine Feminine, and colonialism, as we speak to the question, how do we draw on sacred traditions and cultures to create a movement that builds our future? We hope that this conversation invites you into deeper connection with yourself, all our relations, and the waters of life. Welcome to All That We Are, with me, your host, Amisha Gadiali. On this show, we explore the weave between activism, the sacred, creativity, and regeneration, the spaces where our inner and outer worlds dance. From healing trauma to nature connection, to new technologies to ancient wisdom, it's time for us to move beyond silos and into an integrated way of being. Every one of us has ideas and personal experiences to share that can lead us to a more beautiful future. Despite the challenges we face as a global community or the pressures we meet in our daily lives, when we stop and dare to listen, to ask ourselves the big questions, and to share what we are already doing and envisioning, we create the futures of our wildest dreams. And we begin to embody all that we are, all that we are becoming, and all that is possible. SleepyEye, it is an absolute pleasure to welcome you to All That We Are. Thank you for coming and sharing with us.
You're welcome.
When I ask you this question, what are the futures of your wildest dreams? What comes alive for you?
The future of my wildest dreams is that my great grandchildren will have clean water to drink, will have clean food to eat, clean air to breathe, and live in a world and society that has love and goodness, compassion all around them. That would be my future wildest dreams.
I feel like that's one that we can all connect with. And so here we are, here, where we don't have those things. What do you feel are the pathways for us to move towards that?
Well, the thing is that we do have those currently. The problem and the dilemma is that only certain people have access to it, to clean water, to clean food, to clean air, to healthy environments, to a stabilized community with love and compassion around them. And it's only certain people that have that and have access to it. And generally speaking, it's pretty much only the rich, the ones that have a lot of money. It appears that they're the ones that are in control of it. It also appears that they don't even care about anybody else as long as they're taken care of. So I feel that that is the imbalance. That is the tension that is required by all human beings to understand that it is here and it is available And there is an abundance of food, of water, of clean air. But we're on the verge of losing it all. We're on the verge of reaching the tipping point and a place of no return, that if there isn't actions taking place probably within the next 10 years, it's going to be too late. We're going to get past this point where there's nothing we can do. It's just going to be a sinking ship.
In ensuring that that is not what happens, what is the importance and the power of prayer in that process?
The importance and the power of prayer is everything in this process. And it is the guiding light. It's the fundamental foundation that all human beings have to come to realize and come to understand, that each and every one of us have to have an individual natural alignment within ourselves, within our minds, our hearts, our spirit, our bodies. We have to know that those four aspects of who we are is directly tied into the four elements that composes our being, which is the water, the fire, the air, and the earth. I really firmly believe that it is our duty, like me and you, like literally like me and you, and then those of us that have this same kind of frame of mind and same kind of sentiments and feelings and same kind of goosebumps that just is in our bodies, and we feel it. Like, we can feel the pain, we feel the imbalance, we feel the hurts and the fears. But there's people like us that we know how to get rid of that. We know how to maintain a balance within ourselves. We know how to find a balance. There's some of us that have learned to break those chains of trauma and to face ourselves to the point where we can reach our highest potential. And it's coming to the point where it's going to take people like us to share it, to teach others, and to extend a helping hand to those that don't know. And I think it's going to take the human race as one consciousness, one spirit, all individual spirits coming together as one, with their minds, their heartfelt feelings, and even physical bodies, putting their hands together and saying, hey, we're going to team up. We know that we're all the same. We know that if we don't do something now, then our babies, our grandbabies, this future 7 generations coming, they're not going to have the same kind of opportunities that we do. And I think it's time that we spread that one thought. Everybody has to have that one thought. And the one thought is to know that we come from the water. We're made of fire. We have a fire inside of us. To know that that process is ever changing. That's a constant change of bringing in the good and the bad and releasing the good and the bad. That we have to be hollow vessels of love and light and goodness and darkness, that evil that comes our way, and we have to be able to process it all and let it flow. When my grandpa said, we have to be like a hollow bone eagle whistle. Our folks, my relatives where I come from, we use a bone within this eagle on a certain part of them, and we use it and we blow it, and it sounds like a whistle, but it replicates the sound of the eagle. And that bone is hollow. They said that's how we are, how we need to be living in a body that can have everlasting flow of energy, of the good and the bad. And that's what our breath does for us. So if we can understand that, and we can comprehend that we're all come from these elements, then I think that's what's going to give us hope and a better, brighter future.
I love that you shared an emphasis on the good and the bad, the light and the evil, because in spiritual communities, there's often such a focus on the light only. What I see is that the darkness is there. It comes in and it's present, ever present, but it's kind of being ignored. And then it takes hold in ways that people don't even realize, with entities and all kinds of other ways. This is a time when everyone that is on the spiritual path, that is open to healing and is going to be one of these people like you share, that is one of these people like you share, that is holding this prayer, this living prayer for our future, that we have to be better versed in the darkness, not as something to push away, to release, to heal from, but as something to also to hold, to transmute, to not be scared of.
I had the honor and privilege to grow up with wonderful role models, and it started with my mother and father. And one of my first memories that I can ever remember was my parents took me to a ceremony, a Chinupa ceremony, where we utilize a pipe, sacred pipe, and some of the terminology, different descriptions of it, they'll call it a peace pipe. And, sometimes you see it in the movies, or the way it's depicted is in movies, cartoons, or public media, or popular culture, has typically been very offensive to me, to my people. And even just like if you ever watched a cartoon of Peter Pan, that's like one of the most racist, evil descriptions of my people that exists out there. The way they use that pipe, the way they pray, they have an Indian person, like native, and a big nose, and ugh or hum or what, I don't ho they say or something, or they cover their mouth and like it's so derogatory. It's basically evil. It's a way to bring in evil into this cartoon fantasy world that the world sees. As a little child, they see that and they have no idea how the evil that's in there. That pipe, that chinupa, it represents a way of life that is beautiful beyond description. I can't even it would take days, weeks, months, years to describe teachings about that chinupa. That it's a way of life. That's a perfect example of the evil. For me, it is. I see it just form in America. And now, well, actually now throughout the world and all the different places I've been, like I'm so surprised that, like here in Bali, the people, they don't even know that we exist. 95% of the Balinese people I've met don't even know that there's natives in America. They know America, they know about that, but they don't even know we exist. And any other places around the world, they don't even know. And so there was a distinct purpose to destroy and to annihilate our people, because they knew the knowledge, they knew the wisdom, they knew the beauty, the purity of our ways, of our teachings, and primarily that pipe, because all natives from the tip of Chile all the way up to the Arctic, we all utilized the pipe, and we all made our prayers, and that pipe was our cell phone. That pipe was our way of connecting to the Wi-Fi, to the internet. And we had digital smoke signals that we sent to each other. We can communicate to, within the spiritual realm, energetic realm, through that pipe. And it was in such a way that was holy, sacred, healing, protective. All the good characteristics of life came through that pipe. That was one of the first things they came to destroy. And they did. They destroyed it in many of the native communities all throughout the Americas, except for one. There's other nations, but our people, Dakotas, they even went as far as to make it illegal for us to pray with our pipe, for us to hold ceremony, for us to sit in a teepee and pray in our own land. Even though the government and all the Europeans and all the immigrants that migrated to the Americas were in search of freedom of religion, in search of living a life free of prosecution for praying, they came over here and they did that same thing to us. So I can see and I can tell that where that evil, where it originated, and even it came way back there, even in Europe and all throughout Western white civilization. There was a time where they disconnected from nature. They disconnected from who they are as water beings, fire beings, air beings, as people of the earth. For me, what I was saying is my first memory with my mom and dad was that, I was like 2, 3 years old. Like, just the first memory I had was we were sitting in a circle. I was with my mother and father, and I'm the oldest of 4 children from my mother and father. And in our language, they call me a chaske. And a chaske is the firstborn son. And for a couple to have a son, a firstborn son, is like a wonderful blessing, because it takes, as a man, we're here to protect the women. And the women aren't, they can of course protect themselves and those kind of things. But to have a man, like, we're the ones out there in the perimeter, making sure there's no evil, making sure there's no big fierce bear coming in, or whatever it is, enemies coming in to raid our camps, whatever it is. The men or warrior guardians for our warrior goddesses. That's kind of the mentality, the way that we lived. So as a young man coming into the world, and a chaske, I can remember sitting in this circle, and I remember seeing old people and old grandmas and grandpas, and then other ages of our relatives, and they're all using that pipe, and they're praying with it. Sometimes they'll sing with it. I'll smoke it, and pretty soon that pipe was getting closer and closer to me, and I just remember my little heart was just started beating really fast. I didn't know what was going. All I knew is what I felt, and I felt like, this is so powerful. This is so important. This is so special. I didn't know the word sacred, but I felt it and I sensed it. So as that pipe was getting closer, my heart started beating, and I was like, just a little guy, as it was almost getting next to the guy next to me. And I was super, because I noticed every person use that pipe, and I knew I was going to be my turn. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know what was, but I just can sense it. And I just remember having this intense feeling like, what am I going to do? Am I worthy? Like, I don't know. Like, as a little kid, I just remember it was just really intense. And I just remember I kind of looked over at my mother and father, and they just gave me like the most loving, accepted smile, supportive smile and nod, like just so beautiful and wonderful. As a little child, just to look at your parents and the way they looked at me and how their little smile, and it was just a second, but just in that moment, it took away any kind of fear or doubt or whatever that was that I was feeling, and it instantly instilled a sense of pride and that, hey, I belong here. I belong. I don't need to fear. I don't need to, none of that. And I was just little, so I didn't know nothing of the world or, well, all I knew was love. This love. My parents loved me. When I identify, like my first memory, and I identify what love is, and so when that pipe came to me, I always felt so good, and I used that pipe the way my folks use it, and had my little prayer, just little tiny guy, had little braids, and and just kind of dressed up, and I just remember like just knowing that I come from a people, I come from a way of life. So throughout the years, I grew up that way. And even through hardship, even through, a life in Western culture, they would say we lived in poverty. But I didn't know what poverty was. I didn't know what a rich person was. All I knew was the love. That's all I knew. And my parents loved me to death, loved me to life. And they loved me so much that, and even to this day, they're still like that, as old as I am. And, I'm so blessed to have parents and a mother and father that they've dedicated their life to the goodness, to even when they didn't have nothing, they reached their hand out to the relatives when they needed help, when somebody needed, even if they were struggling, they still go and help. And I see people all the time that they have access, like major, like enough for 50 people, and just that one person, and they're still like hoarded. And they're like, no, oh yeah, I'll help you. Just give like a little drop in the bucket to what they have. My parents, my people, they weren't that way. Whenever the white man came over to America in those 3 boats, Spanish, I think they were from Spain, the Santa Maria, I don't know what the names are, I forgot. But when they came over here, some of our relatives, we had medicine people, we had holy people, we had people that they knew the future, they can read, they knew hundreds of years what were going to take place. They knew the white people were coming to bring an evil, to bring ugliness to our lands. And they knew that it was time for this shift. And they knew that we had to get ready, but they said, no, we want to give them a chance. We want to help them. So when they came off that ship, there was 3 chiefs that came over there all the way from the plains. This is an old Cheyenne story, they told me. And so they came there and they had all their feathers and everything. They had their pipes because that's what we used. If you smoke a pipe with us, then you're good. Then we're even. Then we respect each other. That's why they call it a peace pipe. White people put that term peace pipe because every time we would negotiate a treaty, anytime we would have a council, then we sit down on the ground, not in chairs, some fancy building, or no, we sit down on the ground, humble ourselves when we sit around a fire, a sacred fire. And our people, they can tell through that fire if this guy's lying, if he's got ill intentions. And then when they smoke that pipe, that person has a chance to not be that way. They have a chance to let go and say, no, I don't want to be evil. I want to heal. But I guess they didn't have that mentality when they came over. And so these three chiefs met those three boats and the leaders of those three boats. And they, they couldn't communicate, but they just used sign language, and they offered that pipe. That was the first thing they offered to them. And as soon as they got that pipe, they broke it over their knee and they stepped on it. Right there, our people knew that had so much evil in them. They brought it to these lands. And so the only thing that we could do was to stay and live in love. And that's what our people have done, even through the worst of the worst, the most evil thing a human being can come up with in their mind. That's what they did to our people. And they're still doing it to this day. So I studied our history of our tribes and our people for many years, not just in books either, but from our people, from the grandmas, the grandpas. And I know without a doubt that the way we survived and how I'm here today, my name's SleepyEye. It comes from one of our Dakota chiefs. The first day of kindergarten, I was so excited to go to school. I remember that kindergarten. I had these little boots, little Wrangler pant, a little native type of button-up shirt, and I had braids, and they wrapped my braids, and my mom, and I had two older brothers too, and because I seen them go to school, and so I was all excited to have my own backpack, and I was so happy. I went to school, and we were on the playground, and right off the bat, this little white boy, blonde hair, blue-eyed, starts poking me while we're in line to go up the slide. I remember it clear as day because I was all excited. I finally get to go up the slide. I finally get to, go to school, and I was just so happy. I remember, and I just felt this kid poking me in the back, and it's like, what is he doing? And then I just turned around. I didn't really respond. Then he started calling me names, and I still didn't respond. Then he started making fun of my name, saying all these derogatory ways of saying my name. And then that's what got me. I remember that. And I had to decide right then and there if I was just going to let him pick on me and do this to me, or was I going to do something about it? And the way my parents raised me is, no, you stand up for yourself. So I did. I turned around and I ended up punching him in the nose, and I gave him a bloody nose, and blood went everywhere. His shirt, and little girls screamed and cried, and who got in trouble?
You, of course.
Of course. Who got kicked out of school?
You, of course.
Yes. And that right there, that instant, that experience, it carried on to the middle of the year, to the end of the year, to first grade, second, every single grade, all throughout my entire educational experience. I had to fight for my name, fight for the color of my skin. I used to have long hair and braids all the time, and I would never cut my hair. And I'd never back down on my name or who I am or where I come from. Never, ever. And I never have to this day. So I know without a doubt that evil is there. And I learned one of the ways that really helped me was I studied a style called Goju-ryu from when I was in 6th grade, 7th grade, all the way through high school. And there's a way when your opponent's coming at you and that evil, say if they're going to punch you, you use that force, that energy, and you expel it. You don't come at it like, oh, fight back. You don't fight back. You're protecting yourself, and you use that energy. someone starts coming at you. Those were my favorite, when someone's going to fight me and they come at me just swinging with all the anger and hate. I just use that and bring it, throw it away. And they don't know how to take that, because usually when someone's fight, it's like fist to fist, face to, but I noticed there's a way to use that energy. And that was just in fighting. But as I got older, I found my way around a fireplace and in a teepee that has a ceremony that is based on, the whole ceremony is based on love, hope, faith, and charity. And that way of life totally changed my life. And I was able to find a way to utilize love and goodness to work with the energies of hatred and ugliness and people hurting you and people talking about you. And now, like, one of the sayings I remember one of my grandpas would say, like, if they're talking about you, that means you're doing good. If they start saying ugly things about you, that means you're doing your job. Because if the better you do, the more it's going to come at you. And I had one of my grandpas say that he was married. I went to his 65th anniversary wedding ceremony. And this year, my parents are going to celebrate their 50th anniversary. And so going to a 65 anniversary, I asked my grandpa, how did you make it? Because I had just started my relationship with the mother of my children. And I was just really young, and we barely could get along. Like, because we were so strong and natured, and, we was trying to find a way to put our energies together. And at that time, it was really tough. And I remember asking my grandpa, because I went to their 65th anniversary ceremony. I was like, Grandpa, how did you make it this long? And they raised 11 children and had like hundreds of grandchildren. This is when he's in his 80s at the time. And I asked him, like, how did you make it, Grandpa? And he's like, well, grandson, I'm going to tell you, he said, we've had more worse times, hardships, just challenges than good. There's more bad than good in this life. And I just looked at it. I thought he was going to tell me something really cool, like, yeah, you just stay in love, and, something I was imagining. But when he told me that, I just kind of looked at him and I was like, man, Grandpa, I said, then why don't I just live like everybody else and just do whatever I want? Just go out and have fun, go party, go sleep around, go do whatever I want. Why don't I just live that way? And he was like, because, grandson, we came here for a reason. We came here for a purpose. It's not like we have a right, especially in America. They always say that, like, we have a right to be here. This is our God-given right to have land and to drink water. And that could be true. There's some truth in that. But no, Grandpa's like, no, this is a gift. This is a gift, what we have. This gift to be here, to be alive, is a gift. And he said, when we have this gift, we have a role and a responsibility. We have a duty to take care of it. We have a obligation to make sure not only that we take care of our lives, but that we make a way for those ones coming behind us. That's our role and responsibility. It's not something like, oh, it's our right to be here. No, that whole mentality, that's an example of how that evil can sneak in. It sneaks into the people. Then it gives them this egotistical mentality, like manifest destiny, which is a colonialistic way that was forced in all indigenous cultures throughout the world, that their God-given right to own this land, and we're civilized and we're going to go civilize all these pagans and heathens and savages throughout the world. No, that's pure evil. So I was asking Grandpa, I was like, why don't I just do that? That's everybody else is doing it. Grandpa was like, no. He said, you live a life of God, of our Creator. You follow Him. You live in service of our Creator. Then he said, yeah, there's going to be hardships. Comes right after the next one. He said, sometimes it's going to be so tough where you think, I'll never get through this. I'll never make it. Then boom, another one comes and just knocks you down. You cry, hurt, gotta get up, dust yourself off, and go again. And Grandpa said, you do that. If you can do that, our Creator is going to reward you. Our Creator is going to give you blessings upon blessings. He said, you're going to be able to see heaven on this earth. He said, those experiences, those things that you get to see and witness and feel in your heart and your body, he said, it's going to make up for anything evil, anything that any bad experience. But you have to be able to recognize it. You have to be able to see it. You have to pay attention, because otherwise it'll just go by you. Then you keep going through life and like, why is my life so miserable? Why? But you got to pay attention. There's so many blessings all around us, no matter what stage you are in your life. But you just got to know to see it. And then Grandpa's like, so that's the blessing. If you can find a partner, somebody to share that with, somebody that has their faith, somebody that has their connection to the divine, to the holy creation of life. If they have that, then you have that, then you can walk hand in hand. And when those hardships come, those obstacles, you can overcome them together. And then when you overcome them together, then you're going to get to witness the blessings, the heaven on earth together. And he said, that's how we made it, grandson, to 65 years. And then, so I spent many years with him, and I was there when she left him, and she graduated into the next world and the next realm. And Grandpa was so heartbroken, so sad. And I remember that. And that's the only time I seen him have an emotion. Other than that, he was always just so just one way all the time, never sad, never, always happy, always had smile, always had something good to say. But for a little phase and a part in his life, I seen him miss her. I seen him hurt. I seen him sad, and he was wanting to go see her. He was wanting to go be with her. And I came along and I asked him, I said, Grandpa, can you run ceremony for my son for the next 4 years? And Grandpa did. And when they do that, for those 4 years, everything he's doing is thinking about the prayer of that child, of that person. So I didn't know, I think my spirit knew, but I didn't really quite know until years later. And I look back like my spirit knew Grandpa needed it. And it gave him that motivation, determination. And by the 4th year, Grandpa was good. He was happy and he was thankful to be. And he ended up living, and he conducted ceremonies in the teepee from sunset to sunrise. The ceremony takes place. And Grandpa did that all the way till he's 95. And then he ended up passing into the next realm when he was 100 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, so I know through him and through my folks, my elders, and through our native teachings that this is a gift. This is a gift, and we got to work with all the energies, and not just work with them, but we got to harmonize with them. So that's why I'm thankful to be here in Bali, because I can see the indigenous people here, the Balinese people, the way that their teachings and the way and their whole way of life is centered around the mini wachoni. Our people call it mini wachoni. It's water is life. And they know that all of life needs water to live. So their whole way of life is in ceremonies, everything centered around water. And when I recognized that and I seen that, I just started crying, because I was like, wow, oh my gosh, there's people that get it. They see it. And you can tell when you get around them, when you see them. Like, I was up in the country and I was driving my little bike, and I seen this guy, like I drive past him and he's really smiling, like really big smile. And I was just driving, I was just thinking to myself, man, somebody must have just told him a joke or something, or he's probably just thinking about something funny. And as I kept driving, another one, same thing. And I'm like, wow, that guy, maybe those guys were together and they're just still laughing about it. As I kept driving, I kept seeing one after the other, and they weren't even looking at me. They're just driving, smiling, really big. Like, I couldn't believe it. I never seen that, just stranger after every women, children, everybody's smiling, like, and it's a big smile. It's not just like a little tiny smile. And next thing you know, like, I'm just maybe drove a few miles, like 5, 10, I don't know how long, but next thing you know, without me even realizing it, I had the biggest smile. And I was just smiling away, and I didn't even notice. And I get off the bike and I meet my friend at this place where we're gonna meet, and they just looked at me and they're like, "What's so funny? Why are you smiling so big?" And I didn't even notice I was smiling so big, and I was like, "I don't know," and I just stopped smiling because they put me on the spot, and I just blew it off, and the subjects changed, but later on I caught it now to this day, and I love this island, I love this place, and I love the Balinese people. And I thought when I first came here that they were just like engulfed in love and happiness and joy and goodness and all these things. It's true. It's true. They are that way. But then also there is evil. There's a lot, just as much love and light and goodness here. There's evil too, and ugliness and darkness. And now I see, like, foreigners that come into this land, like, either they tap into the good or they tap into the bad, one of the two. Or they try to do the good, but then the bad overcomes them, or vice versa. So now the way I'm understanding it through them, and then through our native teachings, and then also through your teachings, because recently, in the last few years, I got to make a good relationship with the yogic teachings and traditions. The teachings of your people from India has, like, exponentially just changed my life and just morphed it in the most humblest, beautifulest, powerful. I don't even know how to describe it, of combining the yogic teachings with Native American teachings and then other teachings throughout the world. I'm so thankful for your people and what they've given to the world. And I had no idea, because in America, I always thought like yoga was just for rich white women. And it was like a sport or something for rich white women, like Pilates or something. Like, yeah, I had no idea. And I would never do it. I've been invited, somebody, hey, come to yoga. I was like, Now
No, I'm right, thanks.
yeah.
Yeah.
Until that first time I did it. And the first time I did a real flow, halfway through, like my chest just like broke open. Now I know what position I was doing, what asana I was doing, and it was reverse tabletop. When my chest exploded, this or cracked open, this like energy just flowed through me, and I just started crying like a baby. I was so embarrassed, and I didn't feel good about it, and I felt like I was being a wimp or something, like a little crybaby or something like that. And my sis that was sharing this way with me, she was like, no, that's what we're after. That's what you're at. That's what you want. She said, I've never witnessed a Kundalini awakening like that ever in my life. First time someone doing yoga. And at the time, I didn't know what Kundalini was or awakening. I didn't know any of those terminologies or nothing, but I just know that I unlocked this healing, this energetic form of healing and release and just crying and just that I never experienced through my body and through the use of my mind and my heart and my spirit all at once. And from that moment on, I fell in love with yoga, and I tried my very best to learn, but it wasn't until one of my other sisters, she kept hounding me and inviting me to a yoga teacher training. And I never did yoga before. And I just went straight from no mat going. I never went to the mat. I never made it to the mat. I just went from straight knowledge of yoga straight to teaching. And since then, I've learned to bring in our native teachings and tradition, because the way I describe it to my relatives now, because I was so excited to bring it home to our community and our Dakota territory, Seneca territory, and right away, like most of the guys and girls are like, no, I ain't doing yoga. They kind of make a face or something. So then I started calling it sacred moves. It's like, hey, you want to go do some sacred moves? Yeah, I'll go do sacred moves. And they don't know, what I'm doing. I'm just saying, hey, this is some sacred moves. And they like it. And I tell them, this is a way to pray with your body.
Beautiful.
So over the years and all the way to now, and what got me here to Bali and to get to meet you, and I realized that there is a message that needs to be shared with the world. And it's time that the non-native people look towards the indigenous people, because we're the last carriers of ancient ways that has survived all the evils that came our way, all the hurts, all the traumas. And we are the living extensions of it. And we're the ones that our voices, they have to be heard. Man, I got a good bro right here in Bali, and he's Indian, and he's just a shining light. Like, you just want to hug him. He's just so awesome. And he's just straight Indian from India. And I was standing with him, and then all these non-native, well, they're all white people, and they're all yogis, and some of them own businesses, some of them teach classes, and they're all talking about yoga and the Sanskrit and philosophies and teachings, and they're all talking back and forth, and they're like, and then what do you think, SleepyEye? And I didn't say nothing. I'm just sitting here watching them, and they didn't notice that I didn't answer because they're so caught up in their conversation. And finally, one of them kind of noticed I didn't answer, and they're like, SleepyEye, yeah, we asked you, what do you think? And I said, well, first of all, I want to tell all you guys here that I'm offended. And as soon as they said that, everybody stopped smiling and being all bubbly and light and happy and in the spirit. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, you guys are sitting here talking about yoga and all the teachings, Sanskrit, what this means, what that means. And You got a master Jedi right here standing next to me who has a lineage, a bloodline that comes from the direct source of yoga. And not one of you even looked at him. Not one of you even asked him anything about yoga. And everybody was just shocked. Like they weren't expecting that at all. And I was like, come on, bro. I said, I know how you feel. I said, they've done that in America since the very beginning, and they're still doing it today. I said, you know what? It's time me and you team up. It's time we bring the Indian and the Indian together. And we unite our forces, and then we can share with the world.
I always wondered why we were both called Indians.
Yeah, exactly. Our creator knows. He has a reason. There's a purpose for that. I didn't even realize. He started telling me all these things about your people, and you guys have hundreds of tribes too. You have all kinds of ceremonies too. You have sacred animals. You have sacred songs, and just like us.
So many languages and so many different ways of being, but are all based on the same connection.
Yes. And it's so exciting to team up and to bring our teachings together to share healing with the world. There's a earth spirit movement that has taken place, and it's waking up the consciousness of all human beings. Through this earth spirit movement, there has to be a formula, there has to be a mechanism, there has to be a body. And in that body, in that formulation, that structure, the spiritual essence comes from the woman. Without women, we won't exist. Without our mother nature, nothing will live, nothing will grow. In our culture, in our native culture, on both sides, Dakota, Seneca, our people have always revered the women as holy, as sacred, as divine. On my Seneca side, my band of people, one of the last ones that have the ancient form of government, of organizing and ruling our people. And it's all devised under a clanship. And so each clan is, I wouldn't necessarily say controlled or regulated, but I can't think of another word right now. So it's always the eldest woman who controls
or rules.
She picks the chiefs. That leads. There you go. Yeah. And so the women own the land. The women own the homes. The women pick the chiefs. The women name the babies. The women are the ones that guide us men. And whenever the United States was formulated and the 13 colonies were put together and they formulated the United States of America, before they did that, the so-called founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, all those people that were involved with formulating the government, they came up to our territory, our country, the Haudenosaunee people of the Longhouse. They came to us and they asked us how to formulate a democracy. We had the oldest form, one of the oldest forms in the whole that ever existed in human beings. And so we told them, and one of the things, like right off the bat, there was like, utilize our relatives. We got relatives. We told them about the eagle. Before they knew about the eagle, they were going to use the turkey for their national bird. But after we told them about the eagle, they used the eagle. We told them how to have equal representation by each member of their society. All people are created equal. All these doctrines, these teachings. And the main one they left out and they didn't include in the formation of the government was the importance of the woman and the leadership of the woman, the knowledge, the wisdom, the healing that comes from the woman. I know without a doubt, if they would have used that advice, the whole world would be a better place, without a doubt. If we can put women back into the leadership, yes, that's how we're going to save humanity.
Thank you for tuning in. If you are enjoying this episode, do join our membership. For a small contribution, you can be part of our community, where we deepen the conversation and offer spaces of learning and embodiment. As a member, you are a patron supporting the making of this show, keeping the episodes full length, free and accessible for all. And you receive a number of benefits, such as monthly soul space, going deeper sessions, access to our library of workshops, and discounts on all our online and in-person experiences. Our membership is what makes us able to make this show and stay advertising free in a world that is always trying to sell us stuff we don't need. Head to allthatweare.org/membership to find out more and join today. One of the things that happens in the Western world is that women have to go in and, someone else looks after the kids are far away. Like those aspects of like woman as creator get stripped away. And it's like, how can we bring the power and the relevance and the importance of all of that back into our decision making? We talk about making decisions now for 7 generations forward, for holding them, the future, our future. We have to connect it back to life. We have to connect it back to that power.
Totally. Back to the womb.
Yeah, if everyone could see our hands through this conversation, there's so much movement and the tears as well. There's a question in here, and I don't expect you to have the answer, but I want to bring the question as we're talking about colonization. Both our peoples were colonized in different ways, different times. And also we are, then living in a space where we're all the same. So I sit next to, very often, the great-grandchildren or the grandchildren of those that colonized my great-grandparents. We sit at the table together, we pray together. I've been part of a spiritual community in England that happens to be a lot of wealthy people. And so when we stand in a circle and we all speak to our ancestors, I feel something very different in my body, perhaps, in that space. And you and I know that the pain of that, it's there in the name calling throughout school, throughout experiences, that it still comes at you all the time. And perhaps even more so the more that you anchor into your power. And we're here in Bali, and you're sharing about the beauty of Bali and the ceremonies and the joy. And here in Bali, there is a neo-colonial process that is happening where land is being taken over by people, some who care about the Balinese culture, others that don't. Most who are not living the Balinese culture, that are here enjoying the fruits of this land, the abundance of this land, and creating their own things, creating the kinds of places that you might find in America or in London or in Berlin. We're at this melting pot where, as you shared so beautifully, we can share our spiritual practices, we can deepen and expand through what's possible as we share our practices. And yet we're also experiencing still colonization and neo-colonization. Yeah, I wonder what moves for you through all of that. How do we embrace these times, these deeply global times where we travel, where we are so interdependent, where our cultures are spreading in all kinds of different ways, and stay in that space of honoring? It's a big question.
We had many, many chiefs, many holy people. And because world society, Western civilization was a white, male, chauvinistic, colonialistic way, it influenced and it affected, all parts of the world. Within the Americas, the way they recorded our history was from that lens, from a white man. I can't even think of any real historians that I know off the top of my head that wrote the history. It was always his story. Now we're coming to this day and age where we're rewriting the books. We're making it our story today. And one of the things that I've noticed is that they always recorded like our chiefs. And I always wonder, like, what about, because in our way, and it's with the saying that you'll hear like the greatest leader, the greatest man is only great because of the woman that's, behind the scenes. And it was kind of like that. But when they recorded the history, they just recorded the men, they recorded the chiefs. But there was one saying that really stuck with me from one of our chiefs. He was Chief Joseph, his name was, and he was Nez Perce native, and he said, at least I'm pretty sure it was him. I might be off, but I'm pretty sure. But it was definitely one of our chiefs, and he said, everything from the white man that is good, he said, take it and use it to better your life. He said, everything bad, leave it alone and don't mess with it. So I think that we are at a time in human history where everything that's good in our society, in our world society, as human civilization, we got to use it. All the knowledge, all the wisdoms, all the teachings, all the good things from all civilizations, all walks of life, we use it. We use those knowledges. We use knowledge of the plants, of the foods. Like I never knew about shilajit. It's this black paste from the Himalayas, and it's super good for you, your health. All right, and then there's one like that. There's combo. Most people don't never even heard of it, but those medicines right there, they can change your life forever. Like I did combo one time, and it rebooted my entire system, from my nervous system to digestive to the way I think, the way my body reacts to food, everything. Just a total reboot of my entire being. I'm so grateful. And now I have a relationship with the frog, and I love the frogs. It's so beautiful. That's an example. The other one that I always like to share is cacao. I had no idea about cacao. And I had no idea chocolate was a medicine. I heard it being an aphrodisiac, or, like, oh yeah, get your woman some chocolate and it'll put her in the mood, or, that's how they are in America. That's all they say about chocolate. But I didn't know that chocolate came from cacao and came from this ancient medicine that our people use since the beginning of time to heal, to align your mind, body, soul, and spirit, to connect with your relatives in a loving, healthy way. Like I had no idea. And now I know that so many plants, plant medicine, master plant teachers have been used and corrupted to make money and commercialized in such a way that it took out the spiritual essence of what it actually is. Like cannabis, for instance. The world is now opening their eyes to recognize that that is a healing medicine. It's not a drug. It's not something that, people take to, like they do with pharmaceuticals or something like that. That's a perfect example. And now they're commercializing it. Now they're making it into this, I don't know, some kind of thing that rich people do, actually. At least in America, like if you want that kind of like really good medicine, then you have, like they're putting in this manufacturing, mechanicalism energy into that plant. And they're just commercializing and turning it into all these things where they can make money from it. With no teachings, no prayers, no understanding that this is a living spiritual being, that if you're going to partake of it, you do it with respect, you do it with honor, you talk with it, you pray with it, you make offerings with it. And when you do that, then it can heal you. It can change your life. And that's how all the plant medicine, that's all the plants are. That's how all the animals are. Just that basic understanding of our environment and the world that we live in. I think that's kind of where we're at, to where it's going to take people like us to share this wisdom, this knowledge, and these teachings, and this way of life. And if I really do believe that the rich white people, or the rich society, the higher class, I guess they call them, or upper class, they're realizing that they can have all the money in the world, but that is nothing if you don't have the spirit, if you don't have a connection to your own spirit, if you don't have an understanding and a connection to the plant kingdom, to the animal kingdom, to the water of life, to our grandma fire, to the breath of life. If you can't tie in to the elemental forces and energies of who we really are, you can have everything in the world, but that ain't going to matter if you can't identify with who you really are. And I think that's what's going to help, is that people like us, we can share our teachings, our ancient teachings, and to help heal the world. And for me, I've spent I never worked with non-natives. All my life, I stayed in the native community. I did all our ceremonies and healings for only our people. And after all the grandpas graduated and went into the next world, and uncles started leaving, aunties started leaving, and then once a lot of my main teachers left, and all I could do was rely on my allies, and that's the plant and animal kingdoms and the elements. And so through that, they told me, along with my helpers, said that it's time to share with the world. There's people out there they're listening, they're looking, they're searching, trying to find that pathway to healing, trying to find a way to break the personal trauma, the family trauma, the generational trauma, the historical trauma, the ancestral trauma that is sometimes, it's just so embedded in us. It's in our DNA, it's in our bones, it's in our blood. And we can heal those different traumas in certain ways, certain levels, but eventually you're going to have to get to this point where you need to reach out, and it takes somebody else to help you to break those chains. So that's why myself, I've had the honor and privilege to be one of those kind of people to help relatives when they have nowhere to go. Like somebody can spend 10 years in therapy, but come sit with me for one night, you'll have 10 years of therapy in one night, guaranteed. You sit with me for 2 hours and we'll dig away a spot and we'll put a beautiful seed there to where if all you got to do is water it and it's going to start growing and blossoming. But you need somebody who knows and understands how to do that. And there's so many people out there that think they know, or they proclaim they know, and they pretend that they know. And it's really sad because for someone like me, I'll run into those people and it'll mess them up for many years until they get to find somebody like me who knows how to even get rid of that trauma and baggage too, from a leader that or spiritual person that misused their power and abuse and all those kind of things. And I mean, it's really sad because there's people that have been so traumatized that when they meet somebody like me, they project their hurt and pain and trauma into somebody like me, where I now know it used to really, really hurt me, and I almost like gave up. Like why? I don't need to do none of that. I could just go home and take care of my family and just be good with my dogs and my mom and dad and my people, and that's it. Like I don't, but I know that if I want to have a world for my grandchildren coming, I need to be out here and I need to do everything I possibly can to prepare for them. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm honored to share some words with you and get to share some of our teachings and our way of thinking and way of life. And I'm not the only one. I know that now. I know there's people all just like you, like, and just like our sis down, all there's so many relatives are opening up to this frequency of healing, a frequency of truth and light and overcoming the evil and the pain and darkness and learning how to work with it, learning how to use those experiences to help somebody else. So thank you so much for inviting me and doing this.
It's a real pleasure, and I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to share what you are sharing with so many more people than you could be in the room with or in the teepee with. You know, as we're sharing around this connection of being Indians of this planet, it was so beautiful because as you explained what you do in your healings and how you plant seeds and then they water them and nourish them, that's what I say to my clients when I work with them. And I didn't learn it from anyone. I learned it through, there were various mystics, teachers that just guided me towards a tree, and the tree helped me to find this way of seeing people. And part of it is these seeds. I say we're planting these seeds, and then I always say, and now you have to water them every day for some time. And as you were saying it, I had chills, and I was like, oh, we're like tapping into, there's this sacred knowledge that it exists. There's a field of it. It doesn't necessarily come through like textbooks and so. It comes through like being connected to the elements, being connected to these fields of information and knowledge, and being able to open to the beings that we really are.
Yes.
And we are so magnificent.
And everybody can do it.
Yeah, we are so magnificent. And it breaks my heart because even I spend a huge amount of time just like, thinking about rubbish and tapping away on my computer and and that's also part of this modern matrix that we're experiencing. But this knowledge is there, And it's there for each of us to connect to and to tap into and to help to open in each other.
Yes, totally.
This is our time.
Mm-hmm. And people are ready. People are ready.
SleepyEye, it's been an absolute honor to have this time with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome. I'm glad the way I think about it is there might be somebody out there that is lost, struggling, maybe like wanting to give up. Maybe they have it all. Maybe they was raised not ever wanting nothing. And they grew up that way and they still have everything they can imagine. But still yet they don't have nothing. And they're on a verge on one more day, one more hour, one more minute. They might just want to leave. But if they get a chance to hear, hey, there is somebody out there that can see me, that can recognize, and there is somebody that is out there striving to educate, striving to teach, striving to make a difference in this world. And for me, it's worth it. That one person, if there's that one person that we can change their life, we can heal them just by hearing this. And they know that there is hope and there is people out there that are making it happen and are healing, and that we are formulating one mind, one heart, one spirit. And so today's the day. So God bless you and all our relatives. Then we have a word we share. The first part of the word is, I'm realizing it's being heard all over the world and people use it. And maybe they never heard an explanation of it, but this one word covers so many emotions, so many thoughts. And it can mean hello, it can mean goodbye, it can mean that's good, it can mean amen, it can mean I'm sad, it can mean I'm happy, it can just however you use it. And so they say aho. And then the other word that goes with it is this word describes it describes it to all our relations, not just like our bloodline and our own relatives, but all of them, the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, the water, even just sitting right here next to this wooden frame right here. This is alive. It's not just some piece of wood and dead and they formed it into this. No, there's a spiritual essence in it. And once you can start understanding that and realizing that we have relatives all around us, and it's time that we lock hands and we extend it out to our mother. In Dakota, we say Ina, I-N-A, from mother. And so within this earth spirit movement, we got to stand up for our mother earth, all our mothers, the woman nation. And in there is the true essence of healing. In there is the true essence of standing into our higher being, our higher power, to bring forth that heart nation, that bring forth a healing. And then in there, I-N-A, we have to individually, naturally align. I-N-A. Once we do that, we individually, naturally align, then we can help to strengthen indigenous nations alliances. Alliances with all creations, all of life. So there's a word we say, we're formulating this earth spirit movement in honor of Ina, our mother. And you have to individually, naturally align. And then once you do that, you can strengthen indigenous nations alliances on behalf of all our relatives. So we say this word, aho mitakiase. And when you say aho mitakiase, it's kind of like you're saying a blessing on all our relations, all our relatives. So just want to say aho mitakiase. Wopera, thank you, Nyawe.
Aho mitakiase. How would you like people to connect with you? You have an Instagram, a website, a way that people can get in touch, find out where you might be, what you might be offering?
I've just been in the trenches. I've been underground working and helping to heal and helping people. I've never developed a website. I don't have no marketing. Well, not any. Well, gotta be careful how you say things. I'm in the process of creating a whole way of connect. Not it's because it's not about me. It's not. I'm not the kind of person where this is us. This is we. And so, how to connect to us and the we? It's in the works. I have so many people, helpers, they're stepping forward. And so I have experts now coming at me like, I'll help you do your website. I'll help you do your marketing, whatever you need, SleepyEye. Let's do it. So we're formulating a massive international team, a network system within the operation of INA, INA. So I would say just look out for Ina. That's one. But for now, I do have an Instagram, and I think I only have like 300 followers.
I'm one of them.
Yeah. I'm not like the kind where I need to be Instagram famous or not. I don't think like that. But now I'm realizing I do need to make a space for somebody to come and get a hold if they want healing, if they want to help in this mission. So you can look up Sleepy Yogi, SleepyYogi_sacred moves. So SleepyEye_sacred moves is the best way to get a hold of me at this time.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And in closing, I'll share one small, very important teaching. It's not really small, I shouldn't have said that, but it's a wonderful teaching. Is when you wake up in the morning, first thing you do is you get yourself a glass of water. Talk to it. Talk to your water. Tell it what you think, what you feel, your worries, concerns, your joys, your everything at the very beginning of the day. Once you do that, sing a song to it. Any kind of song. If you don't know a song, learn a song. Make an effort. Everybody's got a voice. Everybody's got to learn to use their voice. Everybody should have a song or a mantra or some form of spiritual vibration or however you want to think about it like that. But sing song. Then after that, then say a prayer with the water. My people, we don't really pray. We don't pray to the water or to animals. We pray to God. We pray to our Creator. But we pray through the creations. We pray through the animals, the plants. So it's the same with the water. You pray through it. Then after you do that, then you can drink some water. And then you can put a little bit on your hands or even pour some on your hands. Then you bless yourself. Pat yourself with the water all over your body. Every day you do that for 44 days. The mini wachoni, the water of life, is going to change your life. It's going to teach you something wonderful that's just for you. You don't have to share it with anybody, but it's going to share something with you. It'll start talking to you. Every time you take a shower, wash up, imagine yourself putting your armor on. Imagine yourself washing off any kind of hurts, doubts, pains. Talk to the water. Sing to the water. You put your armor on. When you're washing dishes, talk to the water. Make sure I eat good food. Make sure that food was good for me. Make you talk to it while you're cleaning your dishes. When you do your laundry, talk to the water. Clean my clothes. Help me to have good clothes where when I go out in the public, the evil is just going to bounce off. I'm going to be like a duck. Anything bad just rolls off me. Like that. Start making this relationship with the water. Before you go in a river, a lake, the ocean, make an offering to the water. Put some tobacco down. Tell the water what you think, what you want, what you need. Start respecting the water. Start putting your intention and understanding, because that's the key to heal. That's one of the first steps to healing. There's other steps, but that's one of them, is with the water. You want to heal, you want to help yourself, use the water. There's way more in depth in teaching, but that's just a simple, basic thing I want to share. And I'll leave this song here with the folks, and maybe you can learn it. And just know that my little brother, he made this song and composed it at a time when all nations of the world decided to stand up for the water at Standing Rock. They can look it up. Your listeners can look that up. And it was in Cannonball, North Dakota, a spiritual movement at Standing Rock Reservation. And they stood up for the water. If you don't know about it, you need to know about it and what took place during that time. And this is where the song came from my little brother. His name is Keith IMC. He's a wonderful musician, and he has a lot of music he shares throughout the world. And he told me, he shared this song with me, and he told me to share it with the world, all people. So the words in there is Mini Wachoni, or Wash Day Mini Wachoni, this good water of life. Oh Shia Che Che Chiedo. We're praying through you. We're respecting your good water of life. We love you, that kind of meaning to it. Way yo head ah, way yo head ah, way yo head ah, way yo hey. Way yo head ah, way yo head ah, way yo head ah, way yo hey. Way yo head ah, way yo head ah, way yo head ah, way yo hey. Way yo head ah, way yo head ah, way yo head ah, way yo hey. Wash day mini wachoni, Hoshia che che chi ado. Way yo head ah, way yo head ah, way yo head ah, way yo hey. Aho matakiase. God bless you.
Aho matakyase.
Yeah. Om Namah Shivaya. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Hari Om Tat Sat.
Aho.
Thank you for listening. We hope that you have enjoyed this episode and it has sparked some inspiration and creativity in you. As always, you can find links to everything we mention in this episode, download our book, and discover so much more over on allthatweare.org. We give space to our guests to share their perspective without debating it or fact-checking, as this approach allows for deep, unedited conversations from the heart. We trust your discernment and wisdom to take what is useful and challenge what isn't in your own understanding. We offer spaces for discussion and integration in our membership community, which we would love for you to join. We don't believe in selling you things you don't need through this podcast, and so it's made possible by you, our beautiful community. If you loved this and would like to connect more deeply with us, please join our membership. You choose what you contribute based on our sliding scale, and you become a patron whose support makes this podcast happen, as well as receiving access to a library of many resources and invitations to nourishing events. Please also hit subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen so others can find us. This podcast is made by an all-female global team. Me, Amisha Gadiali, producer and host, Anna Greta Folderbach, who crafts the words that accompany each episode, and Mary Chan, who edits the sound so skillfully. All That We Are celebrates all that we are already and the untapped potential that lives inside us. It invites the full power of the more than human world, nature, the unseen, our ancestors and our future generations. It reminds us that we never exist in silo, through borders, timelines, or polarity, that in each and every moment, all that we are is here.